Jr. driving for Jim McKenzie has stopped on the course. There's the view from the onboard camera. So that means both McKenzie cars are out. Scotty Goodyear was running in the top 10 when he ran out of fuel. Heimrath, who's had all kinds of bad luck here in Toronto in the past, is now out of the race. The lone Canadian still in the running is John Jones, last year's Rookie of the Year on the kart circuit, currently running in the number 12 position. Danny Sullivan is car number 1, led for the early part of the race. Then following a series of pit stops, he dropped down into 3rd place. There's Bobby Rahal. A lot of talk that Bobby Rahal is going to combine with another team next year, Paul.
Well, the Craco team, Rahal's team, owned by Maury Cranes, is going to combine with Al Unser Jr.'s team, the Rick Gallis team. We just saw Rick Gallis, an interview there. And they're going to combine, which will do a couple of things. It will create a 2-car team. It will give Bobby Rahal a Chevrolet power plant that he does not have at this moment and cannot get, because Chevrolet limits the number of teams that can have the Chevrolet engine. And when you have a 2-car team, that gives you a lot more data to evaluate at any racetrack. In other words, if we have 2 cars, you have one, Brian, I have another, we start the day with 2 entirely different setups. And then after the first practice, we talk about what may have worked good. That is better than just you going out and trying one and having to come back in and shift to another one. On board with Bobby Rahal now.
Right now, let's update just, Paul, what exactly happened to Ludwig Heimrath. Pat Gonzalez, can you bring us up to date?
Ron Hemmelgarn, both of your drivers were running very, very well in the early going, but you've had some problems here. What exactly is the problem with Ludwig's car?
Well, we're not really sure yet. He's stalled down in turn 2, and we're waiting to hear exactly what happened, but they've tried to push him and restart him, but he won't start, so we have no idea yet what happened, and we're still waiting to hear on Goodyear, too, how he's doing.
You've got to be impressed with Scotty Goodyear's run so far.
It was really going good. We was in the top 10 most of the day, and he was chipping away at it, so I think we'd have finished well, but again, we got to wait and see what happens.
Back upstairs to Brian Williams.
Well, a tough day for Ron Hemmelgarn and the McKenzie team. The Lola Judds both out of the race. Our leader is Al Unser Jr. He is followed by Michael Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, Teo Fabi, Rick Mears, Barbazza, Bussell, and Pruitt rounding out the top 10. There is car 6, Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti has led every race, with the exception of Portland, has not yet won in 1989. Michael Andretti down past the start-finish area, lapping the car number 10. That is the Irishman Derek Daly, a former Formula One champion. We were talking about super teams as we look at Michael Andretti. Of course, he and his father out of the race after that accident, not injured. The big team. You talk about sharing information, though. Mario says that's why the kart drivers don't want teams. They don't trust each other. I felt I could trust my son.
Well, the nice thing that came from his son was that finally being on the same team, they can have family dinners together without them worrying about giving a secret away now. So the family is much closer together now that they're a team.
Well, we see 2-car teams, of course, in Formula One. So, Paul, would you predict, say, within the next several years, there'll be predominantly at least the big guns 2-car teams?
Well, there is a joke going around the circuit with this sudden move for Gallis and Craco to join together, that in a couple of years, kart will become 2 giant teams. I don't think that'll happen, but I think certainly this move has gotten the attention of a number of the teams who say, well, maybe we can combine with somebody else and share resources, and that may work. Some of them may not be business relationships, but they may become testing relationships where they share the expenses of a test and also share some information.
Well, the only 2-car teams right now, the Andrettis, Brayton and Lyondike for Dick Simon, Heimrath and Goodyear for Hemmelgarn. We'll return live to Toronto right after this.
The Canadian driver who ran up in the top 10, but out of it now, Scott Goodyear. What exactly happened to the car?
Well, it looks like the McKenzie Lola, unfortunately, I think ran out of gas. We were just miscalculated by 1 lap, and with all those yellow flags in there, I guess the computer read wrong or whatever the situation was. And that time around, we were going to come in, but we needed about another quarter lap, and well, I guess we called it wrong.
You've got to be personally satisfied with the way you ran, at least in the early going.
Oh, I'm pleased. I was really pacing myself simply because I haven't done this for a while, and I was starting to feel real good. I know that we ran some 101s, which is well underneath our qualifying time, and that's in race trim with a full tank, so I was relatively pleased. The car worked a bit better than the other day. I just wanted to pace myself after this next stop. I was going to give it a bit more push after the last stop, really try and go after it. So,
Okay, Scotty, a great run here so far. All the best later in the year when you go to Elkhart Lake. Back upstairs to Brian Williams.
We just had a glimpse of car 65. That is John Jones, currently running, the only Canadian running in the number 13 position. There's Bobby Rahal, Danny Sullivan. There goes Sullivan through the corner. Rahal is trying to lap a slower car, that of Derek Daly. The leader right now, Al Unser Jr., followed by Michael Andretti, Fittipaldi, Sullivan, Rahal, and Fabi. We heard Scott Goodyear talking. You know, I spoke to him after his first run on Friday, and I said, Scott, you've been driving those Audi GT cars, you've been driving Corvettes. What is the biggest single adjustment coming back to kart for the first time in 2 years? I was a little surprised at his answer. I thought he might say the car.
No, speed, terminal speed. These cars will run beyond 230 miles an hour with ease. In fact, Rick Mears has been in one at nearly 240 miles an hour. And that's a sustained speed. That's not just popping up to it a little bit. When you see the kind of speeds they see here, over 170 miles an hour on Lakeshore, and the walls are only 5 or 6 feet away, and it's sometimes down to inches away, that will get any race driver's attention.
You mentioned the walls as we look at Bobby Rahal. Rahal is now running 5th behind Danny Sullivan. There's car 1 Sullivan. On the left of your screen, Rahal. Sullivan is 4th. Rahal is 5th as they go by the slower car, the Toshiba of Randy Lewis. You see the walls that Paul's talked about. This is a road course. Now, Fittipaldi points out on a street course, say like Montreal, a Formula 1 course in Montreal, you can run off the track and you run onto grass. You run off the track here, and as we saw earlier with Mario Andretti hitting that Guerrero car, you run into concrete. Had Guerrero been racing on a street course, they could have just pushed it off to the side. So running on these road courses, very, very, very tough. The leader right now is Al Unser Jr., followed by Michael Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan, and Bobby Rahal. We'll return live to Toronto right after this.
After months of hibernation,
of Rahal trying to make a move on that Penske Chevrolet into turn number 3 at about 50 miles an hour. Sharp right-hander. They'll now make a left-hand turn down by the food building at the Canadian National Exhibition. This is really an area, Paul, of, as you pointed out earlier in the course description, follow the leader up underneath the Gardner Expressway. No great passing chances till they come back down toward the lakeshore and through that spectacular turn 11 at about 155, 160 miles an hour.
Yeah, but it's this area that Rahal is making up the distance. His car is handling a little bit better than Sullivan's through here, so he is able to pull up and get right in contact. Now, when you get out in the open, the Chevrolet racing engine runs a little bit faster. See how the interval opens up here? It'll open up a little bit more after this first corner by the Princess Gates. Rahal then will have to use the backside of the circuit to try to play catch-up again. Now, the Rahal team has to be a little disappointed. They were counting on a race without any full-course yellows because they think that Cosworth engine in Rahal's car could have gone a little bit further. Look at Rahal, though, under braking at the end of the long stretch there, is able to stay in contact with Danny. If he keeps it up, within a lap or two, he may be past him.
Again, high-end speed. By that we mean speed on the high-speed straightaways, is the real strength of the Chevrolet engine, and that's why Fabi and the Porsche, people like Rahal and the Cosworth, are not able to make a move on the Chevrolets. They're great at the low-end speed through the tight, narrow sections, but when you get into those high-end speed areas, they just open it up. Here is our race leader, car number 2, Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr. now with about a 2.5-second lead over Michael Andretti. He is followed by Emerson Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, and Teo Fabi, with a Porsche is running 6th. Through turn number 3 goes our leader, Al Jr.
You know, it's awful tough if you take the cowling off of these cars and show ordinary spectator or fan one of these racing engines. If you didn't have the make right there on the top of the engine, it'd be hard to tell the difference. They are V8s. They are